Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast, where I give you practical Stoic advice for modern times. You can support the show by going to patreon.com/Simon Drew. I also do one-on-one mindset coaching, and you can book in your first free consultation by going to risetothegoodlife.com/coaching. On Facebook, you can join my group, the Practical Stoic Mastermind. But for now, enjoy this episode. Hi there, my name's Simon Drew, and welcome to the Practical Stoic Podcast. One of the more empowering teachings of Stoicism is the idea that a person can become fully prepared for all of life's potentialities, and not only this, but they can become prepared without having to go through the learning curves that so many people endure. See, Stoicism offers us a blueprint through techniques like fear setting or negative visualization to look into the future and to prepare ourselves for trials that may or may not present themselves. And in doing this, we are able to tame the rough waters of the future and sail on through, calm and steady. Today's episode is not so much a discussion about those techniques I mentioned. I've already done an episode about negative visualization, and I hope that it was helpful. No, today I simply want to remind you of the importance of remembering, the importance of foreseeing, and the importance of reflecting. I want to remind you that we can all be seers of the future if we will only take the time to think about everything that is capable of happening and everything that will likely happen. I also want to encourage you to use this knowledge of everything that is capable of happening in the future to inspire you to action so that you can be as prepared as you can possibly be. Like usual, I want to base my episode around a quote or a few quotes that inspired me, and this time they come from Seneca the Younger. He said, quote, "The wise man gets used to future evils. What other men make bearable by long endurance, he makes bearable by long reflection. We sometimes hear the inexperienced say, 'I didn't know this was in store for me.' The wise man knows that everything is in store for him. Whatever happens, he says, 'I knew.'" End quote. In a recent episode of the Joe Rogan podcast, the guest remarked that tough times make tough people, and tough people make good times. And good times make weak people, and weak people make tough times, which then makes tough people, and it starts the cycle again. This came to my mind when I was reading this quote because what Seneca is talking about here is the process of becoming a tough person despite the absence of tough times. He's saying that we don't have to go through horrible ordeals in order to become mentally tough and ready for the future. We can be prepared now, and we can strengthen ourselves so that when tough times do come, and they will, we will be ready. Wouldn't you love to be able to say, "I'm prepared," if ever you lose your job? Wouldn't you love to be able to say, "I'm ready," if ever you fell on hard times? This is where Seneca wants us to be, ready and prepared for anything that may happen, and he sees this as the quality of a wise person. A person who can say at any time in their life, "I knew." One of these wise people in modern times, in my view, was the personal development leader Jim Rohn, whose teachings were often clearly paralleled with Stoicism. I regularly go back and listen to a 4.5-hour lecture that he gave, which you can find on YouTube, and I'll put it in the show notes. And in this lecture, he said something that relates perfectly to the quote that I shared from Seneca. And I'm going to paraphrase a lot here, but he tells the story of when he was meeting the executives of an oil company, moving into a new decade. The executives were keen to know what the next 10 years would bring to their company. What challenges, what opportunities, what obstacles would come? So they said, "Jim, you've done business all around the world, you know important people, and you've been a student of the world. What's going to happen in the next decade?" And Jim Rohn, in his simple and straightforward style, said, "Gentlemen, I do know important people, and I have done business around the world. And based on my study of history and business and humanity, I can tell you that the next few years will be about the same as they've always been." You know, as I said, I'm paraphrasing in the worst way here, but hopefully you get the message. What Jim Rohn was teaching here was that the future doesn't change. In fact, he always said that if you want the quickest lesson in history, then you could summarize all of human history in these words: opportunity mixed with difficulty. There will always be opportunities, and there will always be challenges in the way of those opportunities. So the inexperienced person will be confused and will complain when bad things happen or when they are challenged in life. But the wise person knows that challenges will always be there. And so the best thing to do is to expect them, and then to learn and adapt as they present themselves. Taking away the element of surprise is the first step towards being a more effective human being. And so I want to encourage you to stop complaining, to stop being fooled by your ego that tells you that your life will be smooth sailing. Whenever life gets too easy, that's the time to strengthen yourself and to prepare your mind, because a mind untested is a weak mind. Remember that what you have now and the life that you're living is not destined to last. So the only way to remain happy, calm, and effective throughout your entire life is to expect a turbulent resistance, and then to prepare yourself both mentally and physically to endure those challenges. See, maybe life won't present many challenges to you, but it's better to be prepared and to not have the challenge than to have the challenge and not be prepared. Reflect on your relationships, your finances, your career, your family, your skills, your education. Learn from history and challenge your mind when times are easier. Make sure that in the future you don't end up being the one saying, "I wish I saw that coming." You can see that coming, because by expecting everything, we can be ready for anything. And on that note, Seneca said, quote, "In days of peace the soldier performs maneuvers, throws up earthworks with no enemy in sight, and wearies himself by gratuitous toil, in order that he may be equal to unavoidable toil. If you would not have a man flinch when the crisis comes, train him before it comes. Such is the course which those men have followed who, in their imitation of poverty, have every month come almost to want, that they may never recoil from what they had so often rehearsed." End quote. Now is the time to strengthen your relationships. Now is the time to prepare your finances. Now is the time to look after your health. Now is the time to prepare yourself so that nothing the future brings will surprise or challenge you. Reflect on all that is capable of happening and allow that reflection to inspire you to action. Now's the time to get your life in order. Now is the time to become the person who you know you should be. And on that note, I'll talk to you next time. But until then, I hope that this episode has helped you on your rise to the good life. Ciao. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Practical Stoic Podcast. I hope it's been valuable for you. And if you'd like to support the show, then you can go to patreon.com/Simon Drew. If you'd like to try mindset coaching with me, then you can book your first free consultation by going to risetothegoodlife.com/coaching. To join the community, just go to Facebook and search for the Practical Stoic Mastermind. The links to all of these places are included in the show notes, but for now, this is Simon Drew signing out.